Ethan and Liam had always been more than brothers. Identical twins, born just minutes apart. They'd spent their childhood in an inseparable bond that blurred the lines between self and other. From shared clothes and secret languages to whispered dreams under their blanket fort, they had been one in spirit for years. To most, they were just close brothers, nothing more. But for Ethan and Liam, there had always been something unspoken beneath the surface, something neither of them dared to name. Now in their early 30s, life had taken them down different roads. Ethan had married Maya, a warm and patient woman with a calm presence. Together they had built what looked like a picture-perfect life. A cozy home in the suburbs, dinner parties with friends, and the occasional weekend getaway. But behind the social media smiles and carefully curated routines, the passion in their marriage had long gone cold. Liam, on the other hand, had never married. Quiet, reserved, and artistically inclined, he worked as a freelance graphic designer and lived in a small apartment downtown. He rarely brought anyone to family events, often brushed off questions about his love life, and had a quiet melancholy about him that most people couldn't quite place. Ethan and Liam still saw each other often, especially after Maya encouraged it. She liked Liam. She thought he was sweet, maybe a bit too quiet, but always kind. She often invited him over for dinners, hoping to keep the family ties strong. Liam always came, always smiled politely, always helped clean up, and every time, he left with a hollow ache in his chest that he couldn't explain to anyone. The truth was, Liam had never stopped thinking about Ethan, not just as his brother, but as something more, something forbidden. It wasn't just a fleeting attraction. It had roots that stretched back to their teenage years, to one late summer night when everything had changed. They were 17. The house had been empty. Their parents were out of town. They'd stayed up late watching movies, drinking the beers they'd stolen from the garage fridge. Somewhere between teasing jokes and sleepy laughter, something happened. A touch lingered too long. A glance held too much meaning. And then a kiss. Brief. Confused. Heated. Neither of them spoke of it afterward. They never mentioned it again, as if by staying silent, they could erase it. But Liam had never forgotten. And now, being near Ethan again, seeing the tired sadness in his brother's eyes, hearing the quiet in his laugh, it stirred something dangerous inside him. He couldn't stop watching him. The way he held his glass. The way he ran a hand through his hair when he was thinking. The way his voice softened when they talked alone. It was all too much. Ethan, for his part, was growing increasingly aware of Liam's stares, of the tension between them that returned every time they were alone. It unnerved him. It stirred something in him, too, something he'd buried long ago and convinced himself wasn't real. He told himself it was just nostalgia, that he missed their closeness from when they were young. That was all. One night, after a family barbecue, Maya went to bed early with a headache. Ethan and Liam stayed out on the back porch, nursing the last of the wine. The summer air was thick and slow. They talked for hours, about work, about their parents, about nothing and everything. There was a strange comfort in the silence between them. Ethan looked over at Liam, his face half-shadowed by the porch light. "You ever think about how different things turned out?" he asked quietly. Liam nodded. "All the time." Ethan took a slow sip of his drink. "Sometimes I miss how simple it used to be. You and me. Just us." Liam looked at him then, eyes darker than usual. "It was never simple for me." The words hung in the air, thick and dangerous. Ethan didn't respond right away. He just stared ahead at the empty yard. Then Liam laughed nervously, trying to ease the weight of what he'd said. "Sorry, I'm just being weird." Ethan shook his head. "No, you're not." A long silence followed. Then, as Liam stood to go inside, his hand brushed Ethan's shoulder. "Night, babe," Liam said quietly, so quietly it almost didn't register. Ethan turned his head, startled. Liam froze, immediately realizing what he'd said. "I mean bro night, bro," he corrected quickly, eyes wide. Ethan didn't say anything. He just looked at him. Liam walked inside, face burning. Ethan remained on the porch, drink untouched, heart pounding. Something had cracked open between them, something that had never truly closed. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. Long after Liam had left and the house had gone quiet, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The word, babe, echoed in his mind like a whisper he couldn't silence. It wasn't the word itself. It was the tone, the slip, the emotion beneath it. It wasn't just a mistake. It was something real, something dangerous. And the worst part was how it made Ethan feel. He'd spent years trying to forget that night in their youth. He had pushed the memories so far down, convincing himself it had been a one-time confusion, a teenage blur of hormones and alcohol. But now, with Liam back in his life more often, those walls he'd built were starting to crumble. The feelings were coming back, slowly, insistently. Over the next few days, Ethan kept his distance. He ignored Liam's texts, made excuses not to meet for their usual coffee catch-ups, and poured himself into work. Maya noticed the shift immediately. One evening, while clearing dinner, she looked at him and asked gently, "Are you okay? You've been somewhere else lately." "I'm fine," Ethan replied too quickly, not meeting her eyes. She didn't press, but she knew. Meanwhile, Liam was spiraling. That slip of the tongue had been a crack in the dam, and now his emotions were flooding through. He kept reliving that porch moment, the silence that followed, Ethan's expression. He couldn't tell if Ethan had been angry, surprised, or something else. He knew he should feel ashamed, and he did. But beneath the guilt, there was longing, raw and aching. Trying to distract himself, Liam started seeing someone new. Derek was smart, charming, and funny. They met at an art event downtown, and their connection was immediate. Derek made Liam laugh, made him feel wanted, and most importantly, made him forget, if only temporarily. But every time Liam closed his eyes, it was Ethan he saw. Even when he kissed Derek, his mind drifted to another mouth, another memory. One Friday evening, Maya told Ethan she'd be heading out of town for the weekend to visit her sister. She encouraged him to use the time to relax. "Call Liam," she said with a small smile. "You two haven't hung out in a while." Ethan hesitated, then nodded. That night, he did. They met at Ethan's place, opened a bottle of whiskey, and talked like they used to. The conversation flowed more easily than it had in weeks. They sat on the living room floor, laughing about old memories, teasing each other about past girlfriends, stupid haircuts, forgotten teenage dreams. The laughter eventually gave way to a quieter mood. Ethan stared at the floor for a while before speaking. "Things aren't great with Maya," he admitted. Liam looked at him, unsure what to say. "I don't think I ever figured out what I really wanted." Ethan continued. "I just did what I thought I was supposed to do. You know? Career, marriage, normal life." Liam's voice was low. "What do you want now?" Ethan didn't answer. He turned his head, looking directly at Liam. The silence between them thickened, heavier than ever. "I think you know," Ethan finally whispered. Liam moved closer before he could stop himself. They were inches apart now. Neither of them spoke. Their eyes met, and the weight of all the years, all the unspoken words, all the repressed feelings came crashing down. Ethan leaned in first. The kiss was slow, hesitant, then desperate. Hands reached for skin, pulling, needing. It wasn't just lust. It was history, pain, longing, all colliding in a fevered moment neither could resist. They moved to the couch, then the bedroom. The world outside disappeared. In the dim light of Ethan's room, with the moon slipping through the blinds, two bodies entwined, familiar and foreign all at once. There was no fear, only fire. When it was over, they lay side by side, breathless and silent. Reality crept back into the space between them like a cold wind. Ethan sat up, running a hand over his face. "What the hell did we just do?" Liam turned to him slowly. "What we've always wanted." "No," Ethan said quickly. "This can't happen again. It was a mistake." Liam's expression faltered. "A mistake?" Ethan looked away. "I'm married, Liam." "I know." They didn't say anything else. Liam got dressed quietly, grabbing his phone and jacket. He paused at the door. It wasn't just me," he said, then walked out. The next day, Ethan avoided his phone completely. When Maya returned Sunday evening, she noticed something in his eyes had changed. He smiled at her, kissed her forehead, asked about her sister, but his heart wasn't in it. Liam, meanwhile, ghosted Derek. He couldn't pretend anymore. Derek called, texted, asked if something was wrong, but Liam never replied. The connection between Ethan and Liam had reignited, but at a cost. In public, Ethan avoided Liam entirely. When they had to be in the same room, he was cold, distant, even dismissive. It stung Liam more than he let on, and yet both of them carried the memory of that night, seared into their skin, buried deep behind every mask they wore. Neither could take it back. Neither could speak it aloud. And neither could forget. Liam left the city a month later. No dramatic goodbye. No family gathering. Not even a real explanation. He simply packed his things, told Ethan he'd gotten a freelance opportunity in a different town, and left. The apartment he moved into was small but quiet, tucked between a row of aging townhouses near a lake. It wasn't home, but was far enough away to dull the ache in his chest. Ethan hadn't tried to stop him. He'd stood in the driveway the day Liam drove off, hands in his pockets, heart in his throat. He had wanted to say something, anything, but the words never came. All he could do was watch his brother's taillights disappear. Maya noticed Ethan growing more withdrawn. He'd become quieter at dinner, colder in bed. One evening, she caught him sitting in the dark, staring blankly at the television. She sat beside him and took his hand. "You haven't been here lately," she said gently. "Where have you been?" Ethan's throat tightened. "I don't know," he replied. She hesitated before speaking again. "Are you cheating on me?" The question hung in the air. Ethan didn't flinch. He didn't deny it either. "I crossed a line," he said slowly. "Once. I ended it." "With who?" He looked down at the floor. "It doesn't matter." Maya's silence was longer this time. She let go of his hand and walked out of the room. Over the next few days, she kept her distance, offering Ethan space but no comfort. He felt her absence even when she was in the same room. One morning, she left him a note on the kitchen counter. "You need to figure out who you are, not just what you want. I can't keep loving a version of you that's only half here." She left for her sisters again. This time, she didn't say when she'd be back. Ethan didn't reach out to Liam right away. He tried to focus on work, on the routines of daily life, but everything felt gray. Food tasted bland. Music sounded hollow. Even the house, once filled with laughter, felt sterile and wrong. Eventually, he drove to see Liam. He didn't call ahead. He just got in the car and went, watching the trees blur past his window for hours. When he arrived, Liam opened the door in silence. He didn't seem surprised. They didn't talk right away. They sat by the lake near Liam's new place, watching the water ripple under the gray sky. "I told Maya," Ethan said after a long pause. Liam looked over at him. "Everything." "No, just that I cheated." She asked who with. "I couldn't tell her." Liam nodded slowly. "That would ruin everything." "It already is," Ethan murmured. They sat quietly for a while longer, letting the wind move through the space between them. Ethan finally turned toward him. "Do you ever wish it had been someone else? That you loved anyone but me?" Liam smiled bitterly. "Every day." Ethan laughed softly, without joy. "Me too." There was a long silence. "But I don't," Liam added. "I know," Ethan said. Ethan reached for Liam's hand. Their fingers intertwined without hesitation. It felt natural, too natural. The kind of closeness that couldn't be faked, couldn't be found in anyone else. "I love you," Ethan whispered. "I've always loved you," Liam replied. They didn't kiss. They didn't touch any more than they already were. They just sat like that, brothers, lovers, something between. Know it was wrong, but knowing too that it was theirs, that it had always been there, under the surface of every year, every look, every silence. As the sun dipped behind the hills, Ethan stood. "I don't know if I can come back here again," he said. "I know," Liam replied. "I want to, but I shouldn't. You always say that." Ethan's voice broke. "Because it's true." Liam nodded. "Doesn't make it hurt less." Ethan stepped closer and hugged him, arms wrapped tight, holding on too long. Then he pulled away, eyes shining with tears. They didn't say goodbye. Ethan walked back to his car and drove off without looking back. Liam returned to his apartment, shut the door, and sat in the dark. He reached for the box he kept under his bed. Old photo strips, childhood drawings, a worn-out home videotape marked E+L 1997 in faded marker. He popped it into a dusty old player and watched. 2 boys on screen, laughing, running through sprinklers, blowing out candles on a cake, hugging without fear, loving without shame. He watched until the screen turned to static. Some love stories never get told. Not out loud. Some bonds remain unseen, buried beneath the weight of guilt, names, expectations. But they live on, in memory, in silence, in the space where right and wrong blur, and in the hearts of 2 boys who once believed they were just brothers.